Hello YouTube. Okay, quick video about Enfield breech covers, specifically for the SMLE, short magazine Enfield and the number 4, just to highlight the differences between First World War pattern, Second World War pattern, because I quite regularly see these type of Second World War ones stamped up erroneously with MECO 1915 or 16 or 17 or some other erroneous First World War date, and they are not correct at all. I just thought if I showed the key differences between the two different patterns, then if you're looking for one, you know if you're buying a genuine one or a relabeled Second World War or even post-war one. So we'll put Second World War one to the side for a minute, and we'll have a look at this one. So this is a Great War era pattern SMLE breech cover. It's made of a 2-ply soft canvas type material. It's got a leather thong to secure it around the rifle. It's got 3 pleats at the back to secure it around the back of the buttstock and 3 poppers along the bottom to popper it up so it doesn't come off. These were used to keep dirt, dust, debris, that kind of thing, to keep the action and the receiver clean so the rifle remained serviceable in harsh conditions in, say, the trenches or the desert, etc. So let's have a look at the features of the First World War and then we'll compare it with the Second World War. So the most noticeable, if you're looking at them like this, is the poppers. They are a solid brass patterned popper. The male part is a domed centre post with a nice design around it, and they are not hollow in that insofar as you can't see through them. The Second World War ones have a more plain popper finish that has a more conventional ring stud type popper that you can see through. There's a hole in the middle where it's passed through a hole in the material and punched together, so you can see immediately the difference in those is quite obvious. The next major difference between the two is the lack of a reinforcing patch in the Great War pattern covers inside, where it was found that the handle of the bolt would gradually over time wear a hole. So in the Second World War era ones, a patch was, and onwards, a patch was added to reinforce this area here, and it is missing on First World War era rifle covers, but present on Second World War and later. It's really obvious. You can see it externally as well. You can see the circle of stitching. So if you see something advertised as World War I and it's got this circle of stitching, it isn't. So that's another difference. Now, coming on to another really obvious difference, the position of the eyelets. So on the First World War, Great War era, and earlier, to be honest, the eyelets are set back quite some distance from the edge. They're almost halfway between these two top poppers. So that's really obvious. But on the Second World War ones, they are set much closer in. As you can see there, they are much nearer the seam. I've seen some where they're literally almost on the seam, but I haven't seen any First World War dated ones with the eyelets near the seam. They've all been much further spaced away like that. So that's another difference you can see externally. The third difference is if you look at the way that the poppers are lined up. On the First World War era one, they are near the seam, near the bottom at this end. They sort of come up a little bit higher here in the middle, and then they come up very high, almost in line with the eyelets at this end to make a kind of angled line. Now the Second World War era ones, it is less pronounced. So the poppers are more of a curved shape to fit better on the number 4 rifle. But this popper is clearly not as high up as the First World War era one. So this one, just so that you've got a bit of a reference, this is Woods Manufacturing Company Limited, and it's dated 1943. And this one doesn't have a date on it, but conforms to all the right pattern marks of a First World War pattern breech cover. So there you go, 2 different breech covers, both for the same rifle, 2 different eras. These were quite commonly used in the Second World War as well. You know, they reissued, good bit of equipment reuse. But that's how you tell the difference as to whether you are looking at a genuine First World War or a erroneously dated Second World War or later. But you can see how at first glance they are not that dissimilar, and you can see why this is sometimes done. So there we go. Hope that was of some use to some people that are looking for or just interested in the differences between the 2 different, I say patterns, the 2 different eras of breech covers for SMLE and other Lee Enfield rifles. So there we go. Any comments? Drop them below.